Hi, everyone. My name is Jeremy Seeman. I am a research associate at the Urban Institute and affiliate faculty at the University of Michigan. And I am happy to moderate this session today on internship opportunities for new researchers. So for those of you who may not know, this event is sponsored by the National Institute of Statistical Sciences New Researchers Network. So this is a subgroup of NIST that aims to connect student researchers, both at the undergraduate and graduate level, as well as early career statisticians who work on projects sort of in the umbrella of NIST or NIST-affiliated organizations. So we're going to have a lot of different speakers today who are going to talk about sort of different domain areas for people who might be seeking internships, talking about their experiences in recruiting or participating in internship programs. And you'll get a bunch of different perspectives from all of our speakers today. I'm going to try and limit how much I say today to make sure that there's plenty of time for Q&A after each individual speaker. So the way that the schedule is going to work today, each speaker will get about 15 minutes to use the time how they like. Some people will prepare slides, some people have Q&A, and each of them will have a little bit of time after that for you to ask questions using the NIST chat that you have in Zoom here. And I will be monitoring that throughout the session. So if you have any particular questions, feel free to put them in the webinar chat. And with that, I think we could go ahead and get started. So our first speaker today is Yaohua Zhang from Vertex Pharmaceuticals, and I will let him take it away.
Thank you, Jeremy. Let me share my screen. Okay. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you for the organizer to inviting me. So today I'm going to talk about the statistician role at pharmaceutical companies. Here specifically, I'm using my company Vertex as an example. If you love to work with science, stats, business, and of course fun, this is the right place. My outline for today's talk, I will go quickly a brief introduction about our company. By introduce our company, I want to get people familiar with the industry, pharmaceutical industry. And also I will talk about the work at our company, what is the role of a biostatistician in general, and also talking about internship opportunities. Before the Q&A session, I will spend a few minutes talking about my personal experience and hope that will be interesting to most of the people. So overview of Vertex. This is the picture of our headquarters. We are located in Seaport of Boston. You can see the building is a very beautiful building. Actually, it's a lot of people going there to take pictures. It's in the downtown center of Boston. And working at Vertex, you are basically, your goal is to driving the medicines and hopefully that the medicine can help the patients at the end of the journey. So here you can see that we have patients, definitely that's our focus, our goal. That's our heart of everything we do. And also we utilize the first-in-class or sometimes cutting-edge knowledges or techniques to help we go there. And also, we are also not afraid to take on impossibles. So this is a quick facts about Vertex. On the left-hand side, we have a few numbers. The Vertex is founded in 1989, over 30 years, 35 roughly. The headquarters, as I mentioned, is in Boston. Up to now, we have less than 6,000 employees worldwide. And also our market cap is, I think the latest number is $120 billion. Revenue last year is almost 10 billion. On the right-hand side, you can see our footprint in the world. Our Boston office, and we have Cambridge, Providence, and also in United States, we have Seattle, San Diego. And also all over the world, we have many offices, like including South America, and mostly in Europe. This is just our executives. So how do we, what's our business model? I think this is a very interesting topic. Most of the people go to a company, probably don't know how the company is working. I would say, pharmaceutical company have their different strategies. Here in Vertex, our strategies, there are a few pillars. The first one is definitely understand the disease you are working on. I don't know how many people are familiar with this industry. A lot of companies are just looking for a molecule that can treat a disease. And basically what they are doing is kind of a bet. Like if they are lucky, they can get the drug to the market and cure the disease. And here in Vertex, the first step is really to make sure the disease we are working on, that we understand the biology. The biology is very clear. And also we have the right tools to tackle the hurdles. And that's our second step. And also third, if we don't have the technology, we can bring in expertise, or we can buy the companies who have the technology. Otherwise, if we have internal expertise, we can develop the medicine in-house. So basically understand the disease, crack the disease with the right tools, and then work with the right tool to the end of the journey. And this strategy is very efficient, I would say. Up to now, our successful rate is very high. I think it's more than 80%. If you look at the industry-wide numbers, I would say the industry number is less than 10 or 20% successful rate. So here is just a few other numbers. We invest a lot of money in R&D. So as a statistician, you will work under R&D. You can see 3 out of 5 Vertex employees are dedicated to R&D. This is the disease we are working on. You can see there are a lot of disease we are working on: cystic fibrosis, sickle cell, beta cell. If you follow the news, earlier this year, the first ever gene editing drug is approved to treat sickle cell beta thalassemia. That is Vertex technology. It's CRISPR gene editing technology. That's the first ever approved in the United States. And also we are working on pain, some other renal functions, T1D, some neuromuscular disease. And also in the pain area, there are a lot of, I would say, crisis in the society. Like many people may be familiar with the opioid crisis. Our pain molecule is non-opioid option. So hopefully when this medicine gets to the market, we can help solve the issue of the opioid crisis in United States. This is just another version indicating each disease, the status. That's the brief introduction about Vertex. Next, I will talk about the biostatistician role at Vertex and also in general in pharmaceuticals. I'm not going to read the text here. There are some keywords like science, innovation, urgencies, debate, learn. So basically at Vertex, we are working as a statistician. We are working in a team working mode. You are working with a lot of different functions. I just quickly go through here. So so you can see that the biostatistician is really in the center, and we are working with a lot of functions like stats programmer, clinical research, medical, global patient safety, data manager, regulatory. I wouldn't say we are the driver role, but we kind of support all the functions, and it's a very critical role. So if people are looking for meaningless, like sometimes you're working in a company, you don't see how your work is contributing to the company's success. Here you can see clearly, biostatistician in pharmaceutical is definitely a core role. Is basically we are working with data and help the team to move forward. We are in the core position of the team collaboration. Here are some roles or activities you will be involving when you get on board as the full-time employees. For example, from the product development stage, you will have the team to design the study. If you're familiar with phase 1 to 3 studies, for each study, there's a design like randomized, open label, how many arms, how many sample size. Each of these questions are the questions we as a statistician can answer. And also we will write the stats analysis plan called SAP. This plan is actually required by law. And end of the day, you have to sign your name on it. So basically there's this legal binding that so the analysis had to according to this plan. And that's part of the reason people feel there are ownership and responsibility as a statistician, because really you are the driver of analyzing the data, design the study. And also, of course, during the study conduct, you will have to pay attention to data monitoring, and also end of the study, you will help the team to log the database, deliver the results, and also mostly we will be the one who deliver the result to senior leader like CMO, CEO. There's a lot of visibility there. You can directly go talk with CMO, CEO, and then deliver the results. And also, end of the day, you will submit the result to FDA and other agencies, interaction with them, and help the drug get to the market. So this is the whole picture of the statistician's role at pharmaceutical in general. And at Vertex, other than the routine work, we have a lot of other activities that can help you grow. For example, we have journal club. People can talk about papers, learn from each other. And also we have working groups. If you have an interest, if you have a topic you have interest, you want to like lead the discussion, or you can participate in a working group. For example, we have working group on real world evidence, training for other statisticians. There are a lot of opportunities for you to contribute and also to shine. The third one is the statistical review forum. So basically, everyone will be working in a few studies, but of course, there are a lot of other studies or diseases that happening in the same company. And if you have interest, you are always welcome to join the discussion. People from other studies will present their cases, and you can learn and provide feedback. So this is a really good opportunity for you to learn and also contribute and provide feedback. Also, lastly, we have seminars. You can share your experience and help other people learn and grow. So we have full-time opportunities and also interns. People may ask, what's the required skills if I want to be a statistician in pharmaceuticals? I would say these four on the screen are the most important ones. Of course, the first one is hard skills, like the statistical analysis. You have to know how to do programming, how to do modeling, the courses you learn from your school. That's the basis. And also, other than that, we are looking for that, or with the rest of these three, you will be easier to succeed. For example, critical thinking. As I mentioned, the statistician role is not a isolated role, is within the teamwork. You have to really think outside of the box, how you can think critically and help the team. And also, of course, very importantly, communication. A lot of people who work with numbers, models, feel like talking models with non-statisticians is very easy, but it's not. So especially like we are working with a lot of medical physicians, they have little to no background in statistics. Even like as simple as linear models, you need to spend time to let them get understand. If they don't understand you, it's very hard for the team to kind of land on agreement. So communication is really, really important, I would say. Lastly, collaborations. You need to know how to collaborate with different people with different backgrounds. I think the last three, typically we don't get training from school. Most people develop this from when they are working or use their other time to learn. However, this is very critical. I always tell to students who I met in conferences, if you really want to prepare yourself to get a smooth transition from graduate to working, these three are very, very important. You can keep it in mind. So this just quickly, the job description. This is just the entry level. You will work with the team and develop the analysis plan. It's such, I won't go to details. However, while you are climbing ladders through the company, your role will be exponentially expanded, and also the higher you climb, the more soft skills you will need. And also slightly briefly introduce the opportunity for interns. For interns, we have 12-week summer internship. You can get the opportunity to know our daily life, daily work, and also communicate with people in our company. And also you have the exposure to all the meetings we have. And the work actually in our company is not a pure research work. Usually the topic coming from our real project. So other than a research work that when you did something, in the end, probably no one is going to touch it again. Here, the work you are doing is actually helping the project team. So I have been working with 5 interns in the past 5 years. Every year I will have an intern. So basically all their work are very useful to our project team. And still now we are, until today, we are still using the work the intern did. All my past intern turned out to find a job. So this is very useful. They learned the industry and also get the training. Basically for internship at pharmaceuticals, PhD level graduate state is a minimum requirement. Usually we require 3 third-year students who pass qualified exam. There are some past example projects. I won't read this, but you can get a sense like missing data, futility criteria for adaptive designs, explore some statistical methods, and to and also some other interesting topics. And last, the fun activity here, you can see we have a lot of fun things. We have bi-weekly social hours. You can have free beer. And also we have Vertex Family Day. You can go to some sports events and also team building. Annual service, you can contribute to the society, and annual GMDA meeting. You can get to learn from like some expertise from outside of the company. I think I will just 1 minute quickly introduce my personal experience, and I will leave the other sessions to the discussion. So I personally did 2 internships while I was a PhD student. I went to pharma and insurance companies, and turned out I decided to go to pharma or biotech, if you call it. And mentorship is very important. I still have contact with my intern managers. It's like 7-8 years ago. They are very helpful. They are my mentors, give me a lot of good advices. And also I want to say that learning is not about just the knowledge. It's about everything, like communication, the people, the work. So you need to learn every day. Lastly, I want to say, be confident. Most students here, I believe, will land on a very good offer. Thank you. I don't know if there are any other questions, but if you have interest, you can contact me.
Great, thank you. So yeah, there's a question in chat, so I'll just read for everyone. So there are actually a couple of questions in chat. So the first question is, how is the intern hiring process at Vertex? And I guess there's a follow-up question is, are there any open internship opportunities for Vertex right now?
Yeah, so there are 4 internship opportunities right now. If you go to our company website, you can hopefully you can see it. I heard it's there. If you don't see it, you can simply email your resume to me. I can direct you to the hiring manager. I'm one of the hiring managers.
Okay, there are a couple other questions. Can you see them in the chat?
Yes, I have master degree, PhD math. Okay, so I think so if I understand correctly, you have a PhD in math, master in biostat, and working in the academia for 15 years. We do have recent cases like professors who jump to industry. They are biostat or math professors for decades or more than 1 decade. I think it's possible. It's case by case. Basically, the short answer is possible, but it may take some learning curve for you to get through all the process. But of course, I think I have seen many cases recently that professor jump to the industry. So master students can apply stats programming position. I think there are 1 or 2 internship as well. You go to the company website, you can find it, or you can email me. I can help you find the position. So I think in general, we can accept many fields like math, computer science, biogenetics, stats. So the thing is, we are not looking for people who have learned all the courses like survival, biostat related courses. The critical thing I think the hiring manager usually are looking for how quickly you can catch up. I would say most of the courses you learn, even from master degree, is enough. The critical part is, like I mentioned, communication, critical thinking, and also teamwork. So because PhD student has the training, so it's easier for them to catch up quickly. For master students, there are companies who accept master students as a statistician as well. But in general, it will be harder because there are a lot of PhD students who compete with you. And also the degree, I don't think that's the major hurdle for you. I think that's all the question I can see.
Okay, so I'm seeing a couple more questions in both the webinar chat and the Q&A. Yaohua, would you be able to answer those maybe while we move on to our next speaker, if possible?
Yeah, sure. I can answer in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay,
Thank
we're
you.
going to go ahead and move along to our next speaker, who I believe is Claire Kelling from Carleton College.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Claire Kelling. I'm an assistant professor of statistics at Carleton College. I'm gonna share my screen. Today I'm gonna give a little bit of a different flavor of talk than I think some of the other talks you'll hear today. Specifically, I'm mostly going to be talking about my own personal experiences doing a variety of different quantitative social science internships. And mostly this is within the hope of, encouraging question and discussion. So really throughout my talk today, if there are questions that you have, I'd really encourage you to post them in the Q&A, not in the chat. It's a little bit harder to manage there, but I'd be happy to answer them either after my talk or while others are speaking today in the Q&A portion of the Zoom webinar. So yeah, a little bit of background about myself. My research background is in spatial statistics. So I work with communities mostly in Minneapolis to study policing data, where we're interested in explaining where and potentially why police are using usually excessive force. That's usually the main focus of my research. The reason I got interested in this work was because in undergrad, I did a variety of internships, mostly in quantitative finance, and I wasn't really drawn to it in a way that I really wanted to be. So I started to think about graduate school specifically as a way to expand on mostly extracurricular work that I did around campus organizing, specifically around violence prevention. So when I went to graduate school, I tried to find a way that I could connect my interest in statistics, which I had majored in at Virginia Tech, to my more extracurricular interests at the time in violence prevention. And I ended up studying statistics in a combination with social data analytics in a dual PhD program at Penn State. So both in undergrad and in graduate school, I did a variety of different internships. In fact, I did 5 internships total. So I'd be happy to talk about a variety of different things about these experiences. I wanted to first spend a little bit of time talking about the internships that I did during graduate school. I did an internship at the University of Virginia in the Social and Decision Analytics Lab. I did an internship that was very research focused at the Metric Geometry and Gerrymandering Group, which was a partnership across Harvard, MIT, and Tufts. And then lastly, in grad school, I did a project through the graduate internship at the RAND Corporation and the Statistics Group. So I'm going to talk a little bit in more detail about these 3 internships in just a moment. So I'll save most of the detail on these 3 opportunities for a slide in a second. In undergrad, I also did 2 different internships that really helped me to figure out my direction after my undergraduate degree. So mostly the formational internship was a research experience for undergrads, which is called REUs. You may have heard of them before, at Worcester Polytechnic Institute. This was a financial math internship where we were studying basically risk and how risk changes over time for exchange traded funds. And this research experience taught me a few things. One, it taught me that I was really interested in research and open-ended problems in a way that I didn't necessarily experience in the classroom. So I really started to look for more opportunities to dive into open-ended problems. It also taught me that I might have an interest in financial math. I wasn't quite sure. The details of this internship were that it was primarily housed at an academic institution. We did have a partnership with State Street. So we had an industry partner that was really interested in the result and utilizing our what we developed through the course of the internship. But it led me to sort of have some open questions about what I was interested in pursuing long term. So the next thing I did the next summer, the summer after my junior year in undergrad, was I interned as a finance intern at Procter & Gamble. This is a very corporate setting where I was housed for a specific brand doing financial analysis. And this was a really valuable, again, opportunity to teach me a little bit about what I liked and what I didn't like about statistics in this specific context. So again, I really liked working on an open-ended problem where I could really explore a problem that didn't have a known solution and people were really hungry for the results of my analysis. But it also taught me that finance wasn't necessarily the space for me. I was looking for a space that had more, I would say, impact outside of the specific company that I was working on. And also I was more driven by social impact. So it led me to start looking for different opportunities. And specifically, it led me to wanting to go to graduate school to both advance my statistical understanding, but also really dive into some really meaningful applications as well. So to talk a little bit more about these 3 graduate experiences that I had, the first was at the Social and Decision Analytics Lab, which is now housed at the University of Virginia. I just wanted to share a little bit of detail about the structure of these 3 programs. And yeah, would be happy to answer questions that you have about them as well. So at my internship at the Social and Decision Analytics Lab, I was one of 4 graduate fellows who, across the 4 of us, participated in lots of different research projects and mentored total. I'm sort of trying to remember here, but I think there were about 15 undergraduate students. This was at this point several years ago. But yeah, within these programs, within these projects, we had teams of approximately 4 undergrads per team and 1 to 2, but usually 1 graduate fellow per team. So what this meant is that our attention was largely divided over the course of the summer between these many, many different projects that we were posted on. So over the course of this summer, I worked on a project about structure fires in Washington, D.C. I worked on a project about open source software, trying to understand how to give credit to the authors of open source software, and a few other different projects over the course of that summer. Many of those projects went on to result in peer-reviewed publication. So that was a really interesting thing for me to learn very early on in my graduate program. The next internship that I did was at the Metric Geometry and Gerrymandering group. This had a relatively similar structure to the Social and Decision Analytics Lab, where there were many graduate fellows and undergraduate students, and we were similarly split across many projects. So our attention was divided across many projects. And actually the way they structured it there was you'd work on a project for a few weeks, mostly full-time, and then you would switch projects at some point. And this was, yeah, a little bit of an interesting structure because the depth of contribution to one project was inherently limited, but you could, and we often did, come back to different projects over the course of the summer. And then the last internship that I want to mention a few more details about was at the RAND Corporation. This was one summer-long project where I worked on a classification problem in Medicare, Medicaid data with the statistics group at the RAND Corporation. So This mostly the benefits of this RAND Corporation internship were about learning about an application that I was not familiar with at all, but definitely, again, a space where the partners, the administrators were really interested in our results and hopefully implementing our results as well after the conclusion of the summer. So I have some overall thoughts that I was thinking of when I'm reflecting on my internship process. Obviously, I did quite a few internships, and I have some general reflections, but also I wanted to answer a couple of questions that I often get when I talk about internships. The first question I get all the time when I talk about internships in graduate school is, when is too early to do an internship? And I would say you'll get a variety of different feedback about this. And usually the most common feedback that I hear is, wait until you're done with your qualifying exam before you pursue an internship in graduate school. That being said, I did the Social and Decision Analytics Lab internship after my first year in graduate school, and it really changed the trajectory of the rest of my graduate program. Specifically in that internship, I became really interested in spatial statistics, given its potential to have an impact in the community. And that's what I ended up doing for my entire statistics PhD. It was studying different methods in spatial statistics and specifically trying to find ways to apply it to community context. So that was really definitely early as compared to when most people do internships in graduate school, but it was really a valuable space for me to be in for my graduate program. Similarly, I just want to say that in some opportunities, there's a lot of interplay between your dissertation research and your internship work, where what you are actually doing in your dissertation is fundamentally related to what you're doing in the internship. That was mostly the case for me in the metric geometry and gerrymandering group, where I was using a lot of the spatial skills that I had been developing in my dissertation work in the actual research projects that I was working on that summer. That's not always the case, though. Sometimes there's a lot of on-the-job learning about the statistical methods that are most appropriate for the problem at hand, as well as information about the application. So in my role with the RAND Corporation, for example, I didn't know really much at all about the statistical method or the application before I stepped foot at the RAND Corporation in Pittsburgh. So that was a really good opportunity to learn, again, both about new statistical methods and application areas. So again, I want to say with these internships, one thing that I would recommend as you're thinking about them is to stay open about what kind of skill sets you want to develop, both within statistics and about applications that the given institution is studying or the given project. One piece of advice I also usually recommend if you're thinking about a graduate internship, especially a graduate internship that is more research focused, which most of my, all of my graduate internships were very focused on research, is to early on in the project, ask for clarity and what post-summer plans might look like. For example, if the plan is for the project to result in a publication, is there the ability for you to be on that publication? If so, what would that look like in terms of your continued involvement and your continued potential compensation as well? So that is something that every summer I was learning the importance of that more and more as the summers continued. But it's definitely something I would recommend asking, not necessarily in the first week, but once you get a sense of if you find the project interesting and might find it valuable to stay on the project, to figure out pretty early on what the potential post-summer plans are. And then lastly, I just want to say there are so many different benefits to doing an internship in graduate school, especially. It's something that I think is not really emphasized by a lot of programs, but there's a huge benefit, like the previous said, in mentorship. I still also stay in touch with my mentorship, with my mentors, I think across every single internship that I did. So all 5 internships. So that's been really, really valuable. You also get to meet people across the field of statistics and in these different application areas. And lastly, I want to say some of my closest friends have also been from these internships. You spend 40 hours a week together, often in close quarters. I think I shared an office with other interns in almost all of these different internship opportunities. So we got to know each other really well, and we absolutely still stay in touch as well. So it's been a really valuable opportunity to think about all of these different applications, all of these different statistical methods as well. And I hope you'll continue to think about pursuing internships both in undergrad and graduate school in your future. So yeah, I'd be happy to take questions now, and/or I'll try to get to the Q&A during the other speakers' talks as well. And if you have questions either about undergraduate programs like research experience for undergrads or graduate internships, feel free to contact me at any point. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Claire. I think we're actually doing pretty good for time. There was one question in the Q&A for you, so if you want to take that now, I think that'd be good.
Great, yeah. Oh yeah, are the internships that I did as an undergrad still available for undergrads? So one of them is the most research experiences for undergraduates are compiled. I think there's a website that I'll try to post about REUs for math and stats. The one that I did in financial math is it was still running last year. I am not sure if they've posted the application for this year yet. But yeah, they definitely were still running last year. Procter & Gamble, I'm not sure if they are still running their internship program, but I would imagine that they are running their internship program still. Yeah. And then I think that I saw another one in the chat about GIS. Yeah, like there's so many questions in the chat. Does this have anything to do with GIS? Yeah, so my research is at the in spatial statistics, but geographic information system is related in some way. Most of my work is done in R. When I think of GIS, I usually think of GIS software. That's a little bit different than what I'm using, but yeah, geographic information system, GIS tools, and spatial statistics absolutely have overlaps.
Great, I'm looking at the Q&A.
So I think, yeah, biostats and clinical internships, definitely not my area. Yeah, so I think I can comment on the last one though about most internships seem to look for people pretty far into their PhD. Do you have any advice for finding internships earlier in your graduate studies? Yeah, so this was definitely difficult, trying to find a program that was looking for folks or accepting folks that were early on in their program. One of the things that I'd recommend is reaching out to other people in your program that have done internships early on. And maybe there aren't people like that, but in my program, there were a couple. And I also, across the different ads, just started looking to see if they had restrictions, because a lot of these programs have restrictions on we're looking ideally for third year or later. But if they don't mention a restriction, oftentimes they're welcoming of people earlier in their graduate career as well. So it's not explicitly usually going to say we're open to first year PhD students, but if they don't have a restriction on the year, then they may or may not be open. I will say, so yeah, for my early on internship at the Social and Decision Analytics Lab, everyone else was pretty late in their PhD program, third year plus. But for me, yeah, I really wanted to find a tangible, motivating sort of experience very early on. And this was something that was open to undergraduates as well. So mostly my role was on statistical expertise and statistical mentorship, but also application-based mentorship as well. So one way you might look for especially research-based internships that are earlier in your graduate studies is by looking for roles that are paired with undergraduate programs as well, because they might be more open to younger students.
Yeah, that's great. And one thing I would also add to that, because we do have a lot of undergrad and master's folks here, is that it's often easier to get an internship when you're not later in your PhD if you have skills that you picked up during your coursework and research that are easily transferable. So oftentimes it's a lot easier, say, let's say you've been working with a professor or an advisor in some capacity, you have some sort of project result, and you can maybe use their network to maybe find someone who's interested in that result, either outside of that particular group or in a different setting. That's often a good way to get access to internship opportunities before the kind of time when traditionally you have the most available.
Yeah, and I'll just say too that I wrote down some pieces of advice that I thought about for internships in general, especially if you're early on in your graduate program and don't have a ton of research experience formally. It's important to still think about where you did research, for example, in courses, for course projects, either in your first year of your program or earlier on. Talking about that research, maybe not necessarily as an independent research on your own, as a formal summer program or something, but still talking about research that you've done that's embedded in other opportunities is still a good way to market what you learned, what you know, and what your skills are as well.
Great, thanks. I think there are a couple extra questions that are sort of a mix for some general attendees as well as some that I think are for the previous speakers. So we could probably move on to the next speaker. Does that sound good, Claire?
Yeah, sounds great. I'll get to the Q&A if other folks have questions too.
Awesome, thanks. Johanna, if you want and your folks from Citizen Bank want to go now, you're free to start. Does that sound good?
It looks like everybody can now see the slide. If not, let me know. There's actually 3 of us from Citizens that are going to be talking to you today. I'm a data science manager. I lead the data and analytics internship programs. There's a couple of them in our organization that I lead. We've got John Lesniak and Sampat Kota. And the way that we'll run the session today is we'll do a brief intro of who we are. You guys will have our professional bios, so we don't need to rehash those. You're also more than welcome to connect with us on LinkedIn. So I want to focus on kind of introducing Citizens and talk about some of the data and analytics careers that you can have in a financial institution, and then talk about specifically our internship programs. So briefly, I think hopefully everybody here from Citizens is ready to go. I'll briefly, speak to myself. Again, I lead the data and analytic internship programs. My background that got me into the bank was my Master's of Applied Statistics program. I've worked in other industries in my career, and I've picked up a lot of skills that are applicable across many different industries, so that I can, apply the knowledge that I have. I even do that in our internship program today. We've revamped our program 2 years ago, and we've grown to be one of the largest internship programs across the consumer bank here at Citizens. I'll pass it off to John, and I know you've got an intro slide, so you can keep this one brief.
Yeah, so in the interest of being brief, my name is John Lesniak. I have a master's degree in statistics. I've worked in a number of different contexts, all the way from consulting, medical research, and now here in kind of the financial world. Really, I've developed a set of skills that I think I can kind of plug in anywhere, as kind of evidenced by some of that wide experience that I have. And, first and foremost, I just like solving problems with math. But with that, I will pass it off to Sampat.
And you're a little quiet, just to let you know. I can hear you, but maybe turn your volume up a little bit.
That's the first time anyone's ever accused me of being soft-spoken.
That's better. That's great. Sampat.
Hey all, yeah, I'm currently working at Citizens as a data scientist. I've been one of the couple of folks who've managed to stick around after the internship program. And yeah, I too started from a non-statistics, non-computer science background. I'm a mechanical engineer, and then I got through with some experience in analytics in the healthcare field. Did my master's in statistics here, and that pretty much helped me landing. Those 2 experiences really helped me get my internship program, and then my experience here as well grew. So yeah, nice to meet you all.
And this entire session can be interactive. So if you guys want to come off mute and ask questions, it seems like if Meta's not going to join, we'll have plenty of time. So feel free to just interject, ask questions. We want to make sure you get the most out of this as possible. So I thought I'd give a little bit of context of what Citizens is. I've got to follow up the introductions. I thought the Vertex ones was very thorough. So that's kind of the bar I've got to hit. Citizens is a bank. So we have a number of different sectors in our bank. We have a consumer bank, which primarily services folks like you and I, so individuals who want to have checking accounts. want to borrow money to fund a mortgage or get a home equity, an auto loan. We don't actually personally have auto loans, but auto loans would be associated with consumer banks. We also have student loans and student refi loans, deposit accounts, wealth accounts, investment accounts, and those are all for individuals like you and I. We have a private bank that's specifically targeted. It launched this year and it's targeted for very high net worth individuals. We have a business bank that is targeted for companies that I believe the cutoff is like $25 million in total assets. So it might be somebody that owns like a couple franchise businesses, smaller businesses. And then we also have a corporate bank, which is going to be the 25 million and above. These are really big organizations where, you know, we, in both of those cases, business banking and corporate or commercial, we might be doing payroll services. We might help them figure out how to invest like some large amounts of money. So those are the different areas. So really any area where there's a banking opportunity, Citizens has it. Not all banks have that full suite of offerings. We're headquartered in Providence, Rhode Island. We have a total, our assets, which would be things that generate revenue for a bank. We have $222 billion in assets at Citizens, and that's with 170. We have $172. It's $172. That's nothing. We'd be breaking the bank. $172 billion in deposits. We have 1,000 branches across our 14-state footprint, and you've got those states there. We have 3,300 ATMs, so that gives you a bit of the size of our bank. I don't remember what the latest stats are, but I think we're sitting around the 14th largest bank in the country. That makes us one of the larger regional banks. We have 18,000 colleagues at Citizens. That starts with tellers and people working those retail branches, and gets to everybody across the organization, including about 1,000 folks who sit in data and analytics types of roles. One of the things that I think is important is when you're looking for a place to work, make sure that the culture of that organization aligns to and the benefits of that organization align to what you want to get out of life. Citizens has a whole suite of benefits that I really appreciate. We have really good PTO. We get, we have stock purchase program. We get really good health insurance and good benefits. We have 401k match. We have a culture that really focuses on volunteerism. And when we do different things, we actually get like recognized for it. We get up to 8 hours paid to volunteer every year, which is really great. And I'll let any of my other colleagues, chime in on some of the things that resonate the most with them about the culture and benefits at Citizens.
Yeah, so I'll hop in on benefits. I recently recovered from a torn ACL, and the bank was incredibly supportive. I got to use short-term disability for part of that when I couldn't walk, or I had to keep weight off of my knee. I found all my managers to be very flexible with me. Typically, we're a hybrid workplace, but they let me go remote for that brief period of time where my mobility was severely impacted. So when you talk about the support and just kind of treating humans like humans and giving them what they need to kind of live, Citizens did an excellent job with that, and it's a story that I can't champion enough.
Sampat, that silence is for you in case you want to.
Oh, yeah, I'm honestly like, it's been 3 months in, and I've been like just dabbling with these perks that we have, like in terms of discounts, and it's really been great. You get like pretty good rental car perks, so, and also nice gym membership fee discount. So yeah, that's pretty much.
One of the things that I really like is our employee stock purchase plan. We get to purchase company stock at a discount, which is really great. Our PTO, like I said, is pretty fantastic, and we're pretty flexible. Like I've been in organizations and companies where there are like windows of time you really can't be requesting PTO because it's the busy season, or because like you have dependencies, on staffing within data and analytics rules, I should say, because I'm not familiar with all teams across the bank. We're actually pretty flexible. People don't require you to take time off to just go hop in for a doctor's appointment or something like that. So I really like the support that they give for work-life balance and for people who are growing families. A lot of folks that went home during the pandemic that had to deal with childcare, or they moved to try to accommodate whatever they had going on in their personal lives. Some of those colleagues were switched to permanent time off. It looks like all of us were switched to Johanna Plank simultaneously there for a second. I have no idea what happened. we'll just occasionally say our name every once in a while. Okay, so we'll keep going. And I'm sharing my screen, so I can't monitor chat. So Sampat and John, if you see any questions come up as we go, just let us know and we can address them as they come.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to let John talk to you about some of the different areas in data and analytics at Citizens.
Yeah, so I mean, the big takeaway from this slide is that we do a variety of different things in this data and analytics space, right? I mean, you see on there, we've got machine learning, we've got fraud prevention, consumer analytics, business intelligence. So if there's something you're looking to do, if you're saying, hey, I love statistics, but I think I want to get into something that's maybe more like a dashboarding focused visualization, we do that here. If you're saying, hey, I want to work on generative AI and chatbots and all of that, we do that as well. And so, in terms of the technical side of things, I would say this bank will be able to meet pretty much all of your interests, whatever they might wind up being, and that the potential to switch within certainly exists. Personally, I've worked on a couple of different teams, even though I've been here a little less than 2 years. And, I've found no trouble switching between them, and it's allowed me to try a couple of different things in this financial space. One thing I would highlight as well is the need for having some of those 21st century skills. So when I say 21st century skills, you might think of soft skills. You might have heard that, but I don't really care much for the phrasing because it almost makes it sound like they're not as valuable, when in an environment like this, they're incredibly valuable because you're going to be working with business partners who don't understand what a derivative is on the same level that you do. And if you talk to them about finding MLEs, they're going to look at you like, what does that mean? And so you need to be able to take these things, kind of translate them into something that's digestible for someone without a background and a degree that you're working to get right now, so that they can understand the value of your work and then communicate that to some of their partners and then move forward and implement it and actually reap the value of the work you've done. Otherwise, you risk some of your work getting shelved. And, that's a reality that exists in a lot of different places. But I would say in a bank like this, it's an incredibly important skill set, and it's certainly something that we look for while we're interviewing our future interns.
I think that's a really good segue into your feature. Thought I was going to switch the slide there. Hold on. Okay. And your feature to give your testimonial about your career here.
Yeah, so my career here, I've done a variety of different things already. And, before I came here, I also did a variety of different things. And so, with a consulting background, I was used to talking to a variety of different business stakeholders. But right now I serve as an experimentation lead for one of our wealth marketing pods. And what that essentially boils down to is I take my specific statistics knowledge, right, where I'm able to look at the response, understand the distribution it follows, know what test I need to prescribe, come up with the power analysis to make sure that we have the necessary sample size, and then help my business partners implement that and make sure they understand the value of that work, that we're not just doing, what I might jokingly call vibes-based testing. Like, oh yeah, that feels like it's good enough. Like, yeah, 2%'s growth. But we're dealing with small margins sometimes. And, the power of statistics is really important there. And we need to be able to test with rigor and with confidence to say, yes, it matters when we change the color of a button, or if we put something different in the subject line of an email, or, the layout of a mobile ad, whatever that might be. So it's given me an opportunity to directly take the things that I learned in grad school and plug them in and use them to drive value for the bank. And, it's the kind of thing that I've also found my business partners are appreciative of. They often don't want to handle the statistics work that goes into this, especially when you're working with marketers. A lot of them prefer more of the feeling side of things, where they're looking at it and saying like, okay, this seems like it would be a good layout. We think this is a good message that'll reach our population, but, they don't have the hard numbers to prove it. And so when you are a data scientist or a statistician and you come in and you can communicate the value of your work in such a way that says, hey, look, here's the evidence of why we're going to continue to improve upon things by switching the color of a button to orange, or putting content first in the subject line of an email, et cetera. And so, that's been a wonderful experience for me, just making sure that I'm able to translate something that I spent a lot of hard work and time into learning, into actually being able to use it in my career.
And then we'll transition into talking about our internship program specifically. I saw a question in chat and I was gonna get to this in the presentation, but I'll just answer right away. Citizens, it depends on the role if citizens, accepts and does sponsorship for folks. Within data and analytics, it's much more likely. Legally, we have to be able to make the case that we aren't able to find domestic talent. And I would say in very technical fields, such as data science and statistics, we sponsor, talent regularly because it's harder to find domestic talent. For roles that are a little bit more computer science centric or a little bit more like business analytics, we do still sponsor, but it's a little bit harder. We take more of a gamble when we bring those in, and there are certain parts of the organization that have enough applicants that they won't sponsor for those roles. But our internship program typically does. Our program is a 10-week program. We have two main components for that. We in the past, I think our program launched in 2019, and in the past we would bring people in, they'd all work on a team project together, and it was curated specifically for them. And then they would come in when we gave them offers, and they'd be working on stuff that was very different. A 10-week project, as you can imagine, is going to be different than the stuff that's ongoing regularly. So we revamped the program to have two components. One, you're still getting that team project experience where you carry something end to end. And the second, we individually plug people into existing teams where they've got like a data science manager or a team lead that gets to mentor them, and they can contribute to ongoing work. We tailor that based off of people's backgrounds. So if you're a statistician, we might plug you into a modeling team. If you're somebody who's got a lot of computational skills and you're trained as a data scientist, you might be partnered with the team that's doing generative AI work, natural language processing. So we try to pair it that way. We also have an early career development program, and the seed for this is typically our internship program, where we're high potential talent who's newer to careers. That's probably the best example of the type of talent we're looking for in those programs. It's a 1-year rotational experience where they get to work on different teams that align to their skill sets, and then they get placed on a permanent team after successful completion of that program. Other interns, especially those that are a little bit more senior, may get offers to join teams full-time directly after completing the internship. Okay. The internship areas that we have roles in data science, data analytics, and data management. And some of those like industry-specific terms can be really confusing. I would say to people who have strong computational skills, are trained in data science, statistics, that's probably the place that you would want to go if you want to contribute to modeling. If you want to do stuff that's a bit, and it's all applied, everything we do here is applied. But if you want to do more applied analytic work and you're not necessarily interested in modeling, you want to incorporate some of your business knowledge, data analytics is a good place for a lot of folks. And data management, that's teams that like curate our data for everybody. You may think that sounds a lot like computer science, but we have a lot of folks that come in with statistical backgrounds that are successful across all of these roles. It's really about what you're interested in, because all of our training, you can apply it to many of the different roles in data and analytics across the bank. Our 3 locations for internships, because you're required to be hybrid out of a location. Those 3 locations are Columbus, Ohio, Westwood, Massachusetts, and Johnston, Rhode Island, and that's for any of the roles. We have cross-functional teams that we stand up. Additional information, we historically were only open to graduate students, so that would be master's and PhD. We recently opened to undergraduate students, and we've created a newer entry into data science role. That's a data science associate that some of those undergraduate folks may funnel into when they get full-time offers. We are open to international students. We did 1 wave of hiring that we're interviewing for next week. And that is not currently, I mean, the applications are already closed, but that wave of hiring was not open to international students, but we plan to open another wave of hiring for our internship program in January, and that one will be open for anybody who wants to apply. The process for applying, you put in an application, you are invited to take, like it's a recorded interview, you do that just to see if you've got those communication skills, if you're able to explain things about the prompts that we're putting in front of you. And then you're asked to do a technical assessment and HackerRank, so we can see it tests things like some statistical knowledge, some theory knowledge, but we're also looking for folks that have good computational skills, because that's the way that like work gets delivered here. We code primarily in Python, I know a lot of universities use R. If you're a good programmer, we know that you can pick that up, but there is an assessment and as part of the application process. Our target conversion rate for people who get into our program and complete it, and so far everybody has completed it, is 75%. So 75% of the folks that were in our program in 2023 have received full-time offers to join a team or join that development program that I spoke about. Okay. Do you have any questions about that? And then I think we can talk a little bit about what makes somebody a competitive applicant. I'm gonna check chat. Okay, I think we're okay with questions. I spoke a little bit about that application process. So being a good programmer, I think, is very helpful. Once you get to an interview, that's where we can ask a lot of tailored questions about the resume that you're putting in front of us. We like to see project experience. And as you heard from Claire earlier, it doesn't have to be something that you did like in formal employment. It could be a project that you did in completion of a course. And what we're specifically looking for is your ability to speak to what you did and why and what the application of it is. And that kind of ties back to what John, incorrectly labeled Johanna, said earlier, which is, we do a lot of really technical things here at an organization, but we work with business partners who aren't technical. And so being able to explain what we did in an effective way that the audience can follow is really important. So that's one of the standard interview questions that we have. We pick a project off your resume and you walk us through it. This also gives us an opportunity to see if people are embellishing the resume. And you'd be surprised. Some folks can't speak to the projects that they've done, which is a bit of a red flag for us. We also look for some of those other soft skills, like demonstration that you've collaborated with people. If you've done any kind of like problem solving, it doesn't have to be consulting specific, but if you can show that you've applied that technical knowledge to a problem and be able to speak to that, I think that's a really good thing to show. Okay.
The one thing I would add is just for me, because I've done a number of these interviews, I'm also looking for coachability. I don't expect you to come in and know everything and have every single skill set and, check every single box imaginable, but I am looking for a problem solver and someone that I know when I give them feedback, they'll take it, implement it, and use it as a chance to grow. As a matter of fact, it's kind of my expectation that, we'll need to work on some of the skills because, you're still a student or maybe you have limited professional experience as well. And so this is an excellent opportunity for us to kind of learn and grow from each other.
Thank you for that, because I think that's a common misconception that people coming in as candidates actually have. They assume that they need to be able to exactly fit like the job description that and all the things that were listed. So they may embellish, they may not be honest. And I think it's better to just speak to your strengths. And if you don't know something, it's fine to kind of like speak to what you do know and just own that. And I think that is a big green flag, like asking questions, being open to feedback, huge green flag. If you just try to answer questions quickly, and you don't know the answer or you're making stuff up, people will quickly realize that that's the case. And it's going to make it hard for you to make it through the selection process. Okay. And with that, I want to pass it off to Sampat, who was in our internship program last summer. He stuck around and extended his internship through graduation, and then recently joined us as a full-time data scientist.
Hey again. It's Sampat / Johanna Flag here. To summarize the experience that I've had, it was a 10-week program, and the internship really focuses on bringing out key skills, like your key strengths outside, and also like to help you grow in strength in stuff that you aren't really well, that you feel you're strong with. And it also like focuses on diversity. I was working with a material science engineer. I was also working with people from psychology background, and all of them did not have a financial experience before coming and joining into the internship. So Citizens is all about, at least the internship program is all about, focusing on your quant skills, your communication skills, and not about what you previously knew. So it's more about learning than just knowing. And that really was resonated throughout the internship program. And so if you're like worried that you don't have a financial background or don't have projects in finance, you don't have to worry about it, because that's not really the focus during the selection process or during the internship program, because as long as you have the ability to learn and you are keen to learn, that's pretty much what the internship really looks for in a candidate. And finally, I think, yeah, as I said, and as everyone has mentioned, in the field of data science, communication is key. Your ability to work in teams is really important. And as I'm starting my career here, I'm just starting to see how important that is to communicate the work that you're doing, and to be able to like effectively put your thoughts into words. And that's like really important to as you start as a new data scientist in this career. So and that those kind of skills are really important, and they're also focused throughout the internship, and there are like various ways in which they kind of like make sure that you get exposed to it, like presenting to a lot of stakeholders, working in teams. They also have like a huge presentation at the end of the program to talk about your project in more detail, and also answer questions from people from various verticals within the bank who attend the seminar. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, so the next round, we don't have an exact date for when those, the job applications for the internship will open, but we're targeting sometime in January. I'm giving you, I'll be sending the deck over, and hopefully, the team, and NISS can distribute it to you. There is a way to sign up for just general job alerts if you're not interested in an internship program specifically, and you're just wanting to see everything. You can go sign up for job alerts. I've got instructions for how to do that on LinkedIn, and I'll send those over. Our internship postings would post through this as well, so you keep an eye out for that. We also wanted to give you an opportunity to get an email blast specifically if you want to know when those are, so you don't have to just keep your eye out for it. So you can sign up to be alerted as a courtesy when those internships post in January, and there's a link there that you can give us some of your background information as well for us to reach out to you. Good. And that concludes, I'll leave that up, the URL up for a moment, but that concludes this talk from citizens.
I think we should probably call it, because we are about 7 minutes over, but I do want to quickly thank all of our panelists and NIST for hosting this event. We'll make sure that all the resources that we shared today are going to be available on NIST's website. And if you need to follow up with any of us, I'm sure that there'll be contact information shared as well. Awesome. I think that is it. One last thank you to all of our panelists, and hope you all have a good day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.